Dr. J. Satish Kumar, core coordinator of this workshop. Over to Satish Kumar.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear my voice?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay. So,
you are audible.
yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much. So let's start this class. So we'll discuss in this session about linear regression, and what we'll do is we'll take a simple example of model. We'll try to through that example, and we will try to learn the various concepts that are associated with linear regression. Okay, so let me start. And before starting, I would like to bring a couple of warm. This is the information that I received today morning. You can see the date 1st October 2020, and as number of corona cases are increasing and deaths are also increasing, we request you to stay safe wherever you are. Please stay safe. And also, you can see this slide that the number of corona cases is crossing more than 50 lakhs to 1 crore. But even more than that, the number of webinars are even more than the number of corona cases. You can see as the time passes. And I could imagine how difficult it is to listen these classes through online. But out of the best what we can, we will try to learn and carry out this workshop through online mode. And hence we expect your cooperation. So let's get started about linear regression. And we'll start with a simple example. As I told, we will try to understand one simple model. Then through that, we will try to understand the concepts of linear regression. So let's assume that you are the owner of a small restaurant, a very business-minded, say server or waiter at a nice restaurant. If I have to talk in the context of America, that tips are very important to the waiters, right? So they are paid in the amount of dollars. So it always depends on the tip amount. It depends on the total bill. How much is the bill? Suppose if the bill is $500, the tip amount will be more. If the total bill comes around say $50, then the tip amount will be less. So the tips will always depends on the total bill of the product, of the items that we are eating. So what we are interested is as a waiter or a owner. Can you mute yourself? Some noise is coming. Participants, please,
Okay, sir.
please mute yourselves. All right. Now it's clear. Now it's better. So as tips are directly depend on the amount of the bill, and we would like to develop a model that will allow us to predict what is the amount of the tip is going to be expected tip when given the bill amount. So let's take so one evening. Let's take this is the data we have. Say 6 samples of data. So when we look at this data, we can realize that we have only the tip amounts we have. We don't have the information of what is the actual bill, and we have only one dimension of data. Okay, let's start with this. So if you look at this data, we have only tip amount, not the meal amount. What is the total bill? So this is the data. If this is the data available with us, how we can expect how we can develop a model. The best way we can do is we can if you plot this data in a scatter plot, you can see that on x-axis meal and y-axis tips, because the meal we on the x-axis we call that as an independent variable, and tip on y-axis we call that as a dependent variable. So tip is dependent on the meal that we are consuming. So we plotted, for example, on the first meal, the amount of tip will be $5. We plotted here, and for the second meal, $17, and the third meal, $11, and fourth meal, $8, and fifth meal, $14, and sixth meal, $5, and so on, so forth. We plotted. Now, when we want to find what would be the model in order to expect the next tip amount, this will be difficult. But anyway, the data which it is available, what we'll do is we'll try to calculate the mean. Okay, we'll try to calculate the mean, and if you calculate the mean, 5 plus 17 plus 11 plus 8 plus 14 plus 5 divided by 6, you will get approximately $10 that we can represent as the best fit line. So that is the mean of all the values that we got, and based on the data what we have, the best we can expect the next tip would be more or less near to the mean. So that would be $10. We represent here as Y bar. Okay, so Y bar, that is the best, because the data what we have available, based on that we could able to calculate the mean, that is the average of all the means, and based on that we'll be able to put the best line. So with only one variable, when there is no other information, the best prediction measurement will be the mean of the sample itself. Okay, so the variable in the tips amounts can be explained by the tips themselves. So when you see from the mean line where Y bar of $10 and the difference between the actual values and the mean values, you can see there is the difference from. So if you talk about the first mean, $5, which is minus 5 points away from the mean, and you can see that the second, which is more than 7, which is a positive side, and third mean is just closer to the mean value, and likewise and so on and so forth. When we see the difference between our mean and the actual value, we call them as residuals. Okay, we call them as residuals or residual errors. Okay, so when we see this is the error that has been generated between what we predicted and what the actual value is, our objective is to decrease the, we will come up with a prediction model. If you, okay, let's first square the residual. The advantage why we are doing the squaring the residual error is there are advantage of there are two advantages. The one is the square residuals will make all the values positive. So even the -5 or -2 minus the values, the residuals which we got, the difference, which will convert them into positive. And when we square them, it will exaggerate the difference so that it will emphasize the larger deviations. So in order to make this, in order to exaggerate what is the larger deviation and to make the values positive, let's square the residuals. And once you square, all the values will be turning into positive. And you can see the table on the right hand side. For each mean, the residuals and the residual square. When I say the residual square, we simply square the difference between the mean and the actual values, and the sum. When you talk about the sum of the residuals, actually we call that as sum of the residuals, which will be sum of squared errors. We call that as SSE, which will be 120. So this is a simple addition of 25 plus 49 plus 1 plus 4 plus 16 plus 25. If you add all these values, you will be getting the value of 120, which is the sum of squared errors. So why I am doing this, all the addition, in order to, if I want to come across best prediction model, this error should be as minimum as possible. Okay, so this is the ideal for this model, that 120 is the sum of square errors. When we come across a model that will decrease this error, then we can say that model is a good predicting. Then what we can compare. We can compare if the sum of the square errors is minimum as possible. That is our main objective. So how we are going to do that? We will try to see in the upcoming slides. So when I say sum of squares, is literally I meant to say that we square the residuals and we will get the 120 values. So the goal of simple linear regression is to create a model that minimizes this sum of squares of the residuals error. So our main objective, our main goal is to minimize this value of 120. We will try to bring as low as possible. So if you want to say that my regression model is significant, then it should be eat up as much as the raw of SSC that as we assume in this problem that it is an independent variable which even does not exist. Okay, we have only one data, that is only tip. So the regression line, we will try to literally fit the data better in order to minimize the residuals. So when we conduct a simple linear regression with two variables, we will determine how good the line fits if fits the data by comparing to this type. So when there is no second variable, when we don't have the mean amount, we have only the tip amount, then we have no way to predict. And in this case, we will go for the mean and we'll calculate the sum of the square errors. If two variable model looks like this example, then the other variable to help explain the dependent variable, then we can't able to predict any better model if you don't have the another dependent variable. We have only one dependent variable. Now this is let me introduce what we discussed so far. So a simple linear regression is really a comparison of two models. So one where the independent variable does not even exist, and the other users will try to best fit the regression line. If there is only one variable, the best way we can predict is the mean of the dependent variable. The difference between the best fit line and the observed value, we call that as a residual or error. The squared and added of all the residuals that will generate the sum, we call that as sum of squares. Literally, we will add the sum of the squares residuals, we call that as SSC. So simple linear regression is designed to find the best fitting line through the data that minimizes this sum of squares residual error. So let's once we depended upon only one variable. Now let's go to the bivariate statistics. What I mean by bivariate means we will go for two variables. Now we will go for two variables. We'll add one more parameter in order to understand our model better. So we have to understand that this whole plot x-axis and y-axis, we try to predict the linear regression, and we will also try to find the correlation between the variables in order to understand how the linear regression helps us in order to predict the model. So we know that when variable on x-axis and variable 2 on y-axis, if they meet at a certain point, we call that as a data point, and one variable is a function of another variable. We call now here the value of y is a function of x, because x is an independent variable here and y is a dependent variable. We can write this as y is equal to f of x. So in order to determine the y, x will be determined. So in order to determine the tip y, we need to find what is the mean amount, that is x. Based on the mean amount, we will have so many data points, and so we are representing a simple way of the value of dependent variable is a function of the independent variable. So before getting into the concepts, let's try to review basic algebra about lines. A simple general form of a line we can represent as y is equal to mx plus b, where x is the random variable and m is the slope of the line. Then b is the y-intercept. Y-intercept is where a line crosses the y-axis. Okay, and where y-intercept, when I say when x is equal to 0, then the coordinator should be the coordinator will look like 0, y, and that y-intercept we call here as a b. This is a simple line equation we would have studied in our school days, which is nothing new that I'm introducing here. And suppose when I say, for example, my equation is say y is equal to 2x plus 3, then my slope is 2 by 1. Suppose if I substitute at x is equal to 0, then my y value will become 3. So 0, 3 is the y-intercept where this line is meeting the y-axis. Okay, it crosses the y-axis. And suppose when I substitute x is equal to 1, I'll get another point, say 1, 5, because for x value 1, the y value, when I substitute, simple substitution will help me to know the value of y, and I'll get another point. And based on the 2 points, I can draw a line. So this is a simple line, and you can see that when I say slope, what I'm trying to say is when I'm going 2 units towards the y-axis, the line goes 1 unit towards the x-axis. So this is a simple slope of the equation. But in the previous example, when we discussed, in that case, the slope is 0 because it is an horizontal line. There is no slope in it. So we can say that in that case, the slope is 0 because y there is no improvement towards the upward direction. So this is all simple basis. I'm just refreshing your memory. So what this line equation will help us to use in the simple linear regression model. So the simple linear regression model is more or less looks like the simple line equation. When I say that my line equation is mx y is equal to mx plus d, in order to determine my dependent variable y on independent, a simple linear regression model will more or less looks like the same as y is equal to beta 0 and beta plus beta 1 into x and some epsilon. So this e or epsilon is an error that is sometimes which will be an unexplained variation in y. So beta 0 is the y-intercept as b in y is equal to mx plus d, and the beta 1 is the slope of the population parameter. And this way we can simply represent the linear regression model, which looks like a simple line equation. So y, when I say y, when there is no error, when I'm trying to expect a simple linear regression, expected value of y would be without any error. So we'll remove the error, and e of y we can write as beta 0 plus beta 1 of x, because that's what the mean or expected value of y for the given value of x. That is, we need to calculate without error. Assume that the ideal case there will be no error, then your expected value of y or the mean would be beta 0 plus beta 1 of x. This would be ideal. But in reality, there will be some error. We will represent the term with epsilon symbol, which may be unexplained variation. Okay, so suppose general regression lines, when I want to bring to your notice, it will be represented as shown in this slide. Suppose my expected value, if beta 0 is beta 0 plus beta 1 of x, then if my beta 1 is 0, if my slope is 0, then my expected value ey will be visible like as shown in the first plot. Okay, on the left side first plot, you can see that my slope is 0. In that case, my expected value will be always a constant towards the in the direction of x-axis. So when the slope is 0, the expected value can be always the beta 0, because the other term will be nullified. So the expected value will be always, that's what happened in the before case. We don't have an extra another variable, we have only one variable. Then we will take the mean, and the mean will be the expected value for our prediction model. But when beta 1 is positive, then the equation of the line will be towards the upward direction from, you can see the second picture, the expected value, it is equation which is going towards the upwards. Okay, toward upwards, because the value of beta 1 is positive. When beta 1 is negative, then the expected value may look like on the third plot, which may come down. Okay, this depends on the equation, what is the slope or it is going to impact my prediction model. That is the beta 1. So this is a simple ways depends on the can be represented by the regression lines. Now let's get into actual parameters. So if we actually knew the population parameters of beta 0 and beta 1, then we could use a simple linear regression equation. We can predict the expected value in terms of the population parameters of beta 0 and beta 1 to x will help us to predict the model of the regression. In reality, we almost never have the population parameters, and hence we will estimate using the sample data. Whatever the data we have, with the sample data, we will try to estimate the model. We'll try to predict what is our required estimating parameter. Based on the sample data, we will change our equation a little bit. So we pronounce here y hat as a point estimator of E of y. So E of y only I am writing as y hat. Okay. So y hat is a mean value of y for a given value of x. The same thing I'm rewriting as b0 as b1 of x. For my simple understanding, while I'm solving the equations, I'm changing the E of y into y hat and beta 0 plus beta 1 of x as b0 plus b1 of x. It's a simple change in the equation. Now what happens when beta 1 is 0, as I told, we can conduct the example that I started discussing above. So in this situation, the y hat is 10 for every value of x, because here the slope b1 is 0, because beta 0 we don't have any other data. So what we do is we pretend the second variable does not exist. Hence the slope of b1 will be 0, and so the y hat will be b0, and b0 in this case is the mean value. The slope of this value would be the 10. So the expected value, the y hat will also be the 10. So in general, if I were to see the pattern matching, you can just for example, I'm trying to say that the first equation y hat, if your linear regression model is visible like this, 0.3 minus 3.33x, more or less this model will look like the third picture. Okay, the third diagram, because the slope is negative and it is decreasing. The second equation y hat 48 plus 7.8x will be representing the second regression model, because the slope is positive here, and because of the positive, you can see that equation is rising, increasing towards the x and y axis. And also you can see the third equation, 0.014 is the slope, which is almost equivalent to 0. So this will represent the first equation. If you want to see the pattern matching, you can observe the slopes of the equation, and you can able to predict your regression model. Simple pattern matching. It may be not exactly or precisely as same to same, but you can predict a pattern. What would be the pattern of my model? Whether I will be able to increase. I mean, the next data will be the in the direction of increasing or decreasing. A simple prediction, you can guess the pattern. So the first equation, y expected value for 0.3 minus 3.3 will be representing the third plot. For the second plot, and the third equation, the first plot, you can able to see the pattern matching for the general regression models. Having introduced this, let's try to now analyze this data by adding one more parameter with the bills. Now let us assume that we have the bill amount also with us, and the best way we can carry out the simple linear regression model when we have two attributes available with us, we can go for least squares method. So because our objective is to minimize the squares error, so this is one method is proposed in a linear regression model, the least square method. So for now, my x-axis will be the bill amount, and my y-axis will be the tip amount. And for $34 of meal, I got the $5 of tip, and for 108 of dollars of bill, I got $17. So I'm sorting this. I'm going sequentially as the bill amount is increasing from 20 to 120. So first I'm plotting for 34, that is a minimum. The second will be 51, that is also again $5. Then the third plot is 64. If I am seeing from the perspective of x-axis, then $64, $11 is the tip amount. Then next $88 will be the $8. Then 99 for dollars, the tip amount is $14. Then for 108 mean amount, the tip would be $17. You can see that the tip is directly dependent on the total bill amount, and we plotted these values in a simple scatter plot of 2 dimension. And the least square criterion, is shown in the slide. We have to minimize the observed value of the dependent variable and the estimated value of the dependent variable. So we will estimate some value that is represented as y hat, and what is the observed value. If you subtract and square them and add all of them, if that error is very minimum, our objective is to minimum this error. So that is the idea of least square criterion. If I have to put it in the plain English, the goal is to minimize the sum of square differences between the observed value and the estimated or the predicted value. So here the dependent variable of observed value are representing as yi, and the predicted or estimated value we are representing as y cap. That will be provided by the regression line. So the sum of all these values should be minimum. That is our main goal. So okay, now as we know that in the previous slides we discussed that when there is only one dependent variable, in that case the slope will be beta1 will be 0, then the expected value will be 10 for all the values of x, and the sum of squared values will be 120. That we already studied, and we will use this information here. Now once we plotted this, the scatter plot between the bill and tip, and we will try to see that any visual line that falls across the scatter plot. Okay, so there might be many possible cases. Any line, any prediction line that may fall along close to our data, there might be any line. We can proceed.
Sir, your voice is echoing, sir. Please check it, sir.
But if the data is scattered at different places, you are not able to see any
Your voice is not clear.
we're not able to
Excuse me, sir. Your voice is breaking. Too much breaking.
Your scatter looks like the visualization is then there is no linear pattern. There is no linear pattern. We can stop right. You don't need to go further. We will stop right away, and we will then we will stop. So these are the first step 1. We will try to put the scatter plot. Step 2, we will try to see any visual line. My voice is not audible. Is it clear now?
Sir,
No,
it's
sir,
clear
it's not
now.
clear.
Sir, it's now clear, but before 2-3 minutes it was echoing.
Yeah. So we missed last 2-3 minutes.
It's breaking. Right now it is breaking.
Yep.
Now it's breaking.
Now it is okay.
Okay, fine. So we will resume this. So the step one, we will try to scatter the plot of the bill amount and the tip, the data which is available with us. Step, we will try to see any line that is falling along the data. If there is a block, then there is no linear pattern, and we will stop right away. We will not proceed further. Otherwise, we can go for the step 3, that is correlation. So this step 3 is optional. We can see the correlation or not, but if you see that we can able to see that whether the relationship is strong or not. About that, the slides is not changing, no. All right. So I guess now we can see the slide. So the third step is the correlation. How we are calculating this correlation coefficient, I'll explain in the upcoming slide. So let's assume that for a moment that now based on this data, I calculate the correlation that will be 0.866. I will explain in the upcoming slides how this R value is calculated. So if, based on if the R value is 0.866, it says that the relationship is very strong, and yes, we can go for the correlation coefficient, and hence we can go for the next step. So in that way, we can able to go to the fourth step, where we will find the centroid of the given data. The centroid, in order to determine the centroid, we'll simply take the mean of both bills and tips. So you take the mean value of the bill amount, that would be 34 plus 108 plus 64 plus 88 plus 99 plus 51 divided by 6. You will get 74. And likewise, you will take the mean value of tip that we already calculated, Y10. So the point where it is meeting both this mean value of x-axis and mean value of y-axis, we call that as a centroid. And when we are predicting our linear model, we have to, it is expected that the model should pass through the centroid. Okay, this the linear regression model should pass through the centroid. So this is the best regression line that it should, if it is passed through centroid, then we can say that that is the best fit regression line. So after this, let's try to see some equations that will calculate the steps. So as I told that how we are going to evaluate the B0 or B1, we saw that the expected value yi for ith value of y, we saw that the B0, the y-intercept, plus B1 with the slope of into the corresponding value of xi. B0 we can able to determine by the y bar minus B1 B1 minus x bar, and similarly B1 you can able to determine using the right hand side equation, that is the slope of the equation. So x bar is the independent variable, the mean of the independent variable, and y bar is the mean of the dependent variable. Xi is the value that has been given to us in the sample data, and yi is also the value dependent value of a dependent variable. So based on this, we will able to evaluate the B0 and B1 values, and we will try to calculate this simply. So for each data point in xi, take the value of x and subtract them from the mean, and also take the value of y and subtract from the mean of y and multiply them and add them. That is the numerator part. The denominator part, for each data point, take the value of x and subtract the mean of x, then square it, then add all the products. Okay, so in that way we can able to determine the slope B1, and likewise we can determine the y-intercept B0 y bar minus B1 of x. So this is the table. After calculating of all the values have been represented here. For the meal one, the total bill is shown in the second column. Then x bar is shown as the mean of this total bill. Then the y bar is shown as the mean of the tip amount. Then the deviation, how much it is deviating from the mean for each data. You can see here the mean will be 74 minus 34, that will be 40. Sorry, 34 minus 74, that is minus 40. Then 108 minus 74, that is 34. We calculate all these values for bill deviation. Then tip deviation likewise. The observed value is 5. The mean value is 10. So the difference is minus 5. And bill value, the sample data for second time is 17. The mean is 10, and you get the subtraction 7. And this is the tip deviations you can observe. Then the product of xi and the bill deviation and the tip deviation will be the last but one column. We can see that 40 into 5, 200, 34 into 7, 238. We'll calculate the products, deviation in the products, and we will sum them. So the total sum of all these values will be 615. Likewise, once we do that, we will square the values xi by, in order to determine the denominator, we will square the observed bill deviation. So you'll get for 40, we'll get 1600, for 34, 1156, and we will sum all of them, you will get 4206. So this is a simple calculation based on the above equations. I'm trying to determine this. So once you calculated the values, you can determine the slope. The slope will be the 615 divided by 4206. That is these values we calculated based on the above table, right? So the deviation products by bill deviation squared, you can see that I'm representing in the same color, gray color and orange yellowish color. So you will get the slope 0.1462. So this is a positive value. So the slope, the regression line will be increasing towards the x-axis and y-axis. It will be an increasing regression line because the B1 value is positive. And likewise, we will calculate the y-intercept at based on y bar minus B1 into x bar. So we will be able to, as we determined from the previous equation, that slope is 0.1462, and we'll substitute the slope and the mean value of the total bill in order to determine the B0. So you'll get minus 0.8188. So this is your y-intercept. So this equation y-intercept is meeting in the negative axis, negative value below of y. So your regression line, then the expected value vi should be b0 plus b1 into xi with intercept minus 0.8188 and slope 0.146. Your expected regression line would be looking like this: 0.8118188 plus 0.146 into x. Or you can rewrite the equation as y expected value of y would be y hat. For each value of y would be 0.162 into x minus 0.818. This is your regression line. So when you plot this line, it will look like this as shown in the slide. It will meet, you can see that the regression line is progressing towards the positive x-axis and y-axis. And you can also observe that it is passing through the centroid, that is 74, 10 as shown in the slide. So for this value, our regression line we predicted with the sample data with what we have, we predicted the regression model like this. So what it means, what the regression equation meant to say that for every $1 bill amount, if it increases, then we would expect a tip to increase by 0.1462 or nearly about 15 cents. And the other interpretation is, if the bill amount is 0, then the expected tip amount will be 0.818, that is negative 82 cents. This doesn't make sense, right? So, but the intercept may or may not make sense in the real world. You can neglect that. The main parameter here we are observing is for every bill amount of X, the expected amount tip will be increasing around 15 cents for each dollar. So from this way, from this equation, we can able to identify the regression lines in order to predict the bill. So having said this, let's try to revise again that when we have only one dependent variable, the sum of the squares, we got SSC sum of squares error as 120. When there is no another data to interpret in order to predict, our the total, the maximum sum of squares, the total will be the sum of squares error. In the first case, it will be, if we analyze that, it is 120. But whereas in the second example, we included the data of meal and also we included the data of tip. So here, with respect to the independent variable and dependent variable, that is IV and DV, both independent and dependent variable, the total sum of squares will remain same. However, you can see that the error in the sum of squares will, the difference, the total sum and the estimated due to this error will be, there will be difference. Okay. So now in my regression, SSR will be the total sum minus the error that I calculated. Now I'll make sense in the upcoming slide. This is the first, when slope B1 is equal to 0, we calculated the sum of squared as 120. But in the second case, when the slope is like this, we will try to evaluate the estimated regression values. So when I substitute in this regression model 34, that is the observed value, into my expected value, you can say that the predicted amount is 4.15, which is close to $5. Okay, so I'm just trying to represent the observed versus predicted. So this regression line, what we discussed before, is the predicted values based on the regression model that we developed. But if you observe the comparison between the predicted values and the observed values, you can see the difference in the predicted amount, and the error between the tip amount and the predicted amount will give us the sum of errors that would be shown in here. So for the bill of 34, when you substitute in the y hat, then you will get approximately the tip amount as 4.1505. The tip amount is actually $5, but what we predicted is $4.15, and that I plotted here. So this, if you see the x-axis, the first value of 34, the violet dot says that is the predicted value 4.1505, but the actual is shown in the diamond shape, that is 34, that is $5. So you can see I calculated the observed and predicted values for all the sample data that has been given, and I plotted the regression line, and we can see the difference, the residuals. Now if you compare the residuals between the actual value and the predicted value, that we will square that, the error will be squaring observed minus predicted, and we'll calculate the square of that error, and summation will get only 30 units. Okay, you can see now the error for our regression model, linear regression model, the squared error is resulted into just 30. So this is exactly that we are able to achieve the decreased in the regression, in the error when we go for linear regression. So when there is only one dependent variable, only tip amount, then the total error will be 120. But when there is tip amount as a function of meal amount with dependent variable and independent variable, we can see the gradually there is a decrease in the error up to almost it decreased to 90 units. Okay, So in that way, because the error is less here, our model, the linear regression model, is able to predict better than the earlier model that we discussed. So when we conduct the regression, we can see that the sum of squares comparison. The linear regression model gives us only 30 units of error, but whereas the previous case it will be 120. So where the remaining 89.925 is, where did the other value will go? This we eliminated because of the regression. The regression model will help us to minimize this error. Because of the regression model, linear regression model that we used, the remaining value will be not able to get that. And if you add that, you will get the total value. But we can see that based on the linear regression model, we can achieve a draft up to 30 units. So this is how the linear model will help. So having said this, let's try to understand what is meant by coefficient determination. How the coefficient determination will help us in order to understand this model. So the coefficient determination will be simply given as SSR by SST. That is the total error by the regression that SSR that we observed. So that in our previous case, we can see that SST is 120 and SSR 120 minus the error, that is the residuals. Then the remaining SST 30, SSR is 89.9. We can calculate the R square by calculating SSR by SST, that is 89.925 by 120. Now your coefficient determination is approximately coming to 74.93%. So based on this coefficient determination, we can see that we can conclude that 74.93% of the total sum of the squares are 74%. You are confident enough that our regression the predicted with minimum less. Okay, so that's what we are trying to. When I R square 0.749
one subject
square, we are able to understand how this is.
आपका नॉलेज में 0.1 होता ना, मैं इधर नहीं बैठता उधर बैठता, इसलिए बोला ना आपका जैसा नॉलेज में मेरे को 0.1% भी रहता है ना, मैं इधर नहीं रहता उधर रहता, उधर आपके तरफ, मैं इधर क्यों बैठता? आप बाप नहीं हो, आप महान हो.
Please mute yourself, everybody.
Okay, so you can see here the correlation R value we are getting based on the coefficient determination. When you take the square root of 0.74, you will get this correlation value. So we can see here as shown in the slides that the coefficient determination of, we can conclude that 74% we are confident that the estimated regression is predicting the tip amount. So we can say that this is a good fit. We can say that our regression model is able to have a good fit. So let me revise again what is SSR, SST and SSE. So you can see here that as a diagram pictorial form, also in different colors, that SSE is for each sample data minus y hat square. That is your predicted value and the observed value. You can see the difference of the regression model. The SSR is shown in the violet lines and SST is shown in the brownish lines. You can, this is the SST total that we calculated, that is 120. That is shown in the diagonal, rhombus in brown. Then the error we calculated in the green, observed sample data minus the expected value square, then SSR is the difference of these two. We can see in the violet line. So having said this, let's move on towards the mean square error. So the mean square error S square, we can say that it is an estimate of variance of the error. So in other words, how the data points are spreaded in the regression line can be observed using this mean square error. This mean square error is determined by SSC divided by n minus 2. Why we are going for n minus 2, not n? Because the data what we are using is sample data. It is not the actual populated data. If we use the population data, then we can use directly n. But because we are not using the population data, we are using the sample data, we will use n minus 2. And also we use S square and not the sigma square. So MS mean square error is not simply the average of residuals, but it's square. So what I meant to say that so the standard error estimate, the variance is a standard deviation of the error term. We can call that as SSC F in terms of S. If I say the standard error, that is the variance will be square, but the standard error we will take the square root of mean square error in terms that is equivalent to a square root of SSC by n minus 2. And when we substitute the SSC by n minus 2, in our case n is 6, that is the sample data of n. When you calculate this value, you will get an approximately 2.742. That is the average distance between the data points. That is, we can say that the approximately it's $2.74 is the variation we are observing, that the error among all this regression model that we predicted. We can also say that in other words that our SSC is 30, mean square error is 7.518, and the standard error as 2.74. So you can calculate all these values in a table for intercept. In order you can see all the values that are tabulated here, the intercepts and total bill, standard error, what is lower 95% and upper 95% is the confidence levels that we will discuss in the upcoming slides. Based on this, we will be able to calculate the TIPS output, how much we are able to get the mean square error and standard error. So when I say R square, it is also, we can say that it is the sum of squares regression by total sum of squares. In our case, the sum of squares, we observe that from the regression as 89.1 and the total is 120, that we already discussed, the 74% is our R square, and based on that we will try to estimate our model. So the linear regression model contains many estimators. So one is B1, that is the slope of the regression line, then B0, that is the intercept on the regression line on y-axis. Then we have to calculate the centroid, the intersection of mean of x and y variables, then the mean of y hat for the corresponding value of x star, that is the confidence interval, then the individual value of y hat for x value, that is the prediction interval, individual value, then the mean value, and many others about the variance. These are the estimators that are used in the linear regression model. So how I can able to identify the confidence level, confidence interval level of a slope based on this equation. You can see that the pointer estimator of the slope as represented as B1, then the t value, then the standard deviation of the slope as the confidence level. We can get from this equation 2 points, B1 plus T alpha by 2, standard deviation of B1 and one value as a positive, and you subtract the point estimator of the slope from the T value and standard deviation of the slope. What do you mean by that? And I'll explain in the upcoming slides. So you get the total bill and the average bill, and we calculate the difference and the squared value, and the standard deviation of the slope is determined by the above equation. In our case, we calculated the S here, that is that is the standard error as 2.742. The same value I'm substituting here, 2.742. Then in the numerator, we are substituting the standard error, and the denominator is the total squared of the difference bill. Now, when we take the square root, we'll calculate the standard deviation of the slope as 0.0422, and we can say that the difference in the because of the t value observed is 6, and we are subtracting 2 because we are taking the sample data. Then our equation will be the predictor slope 0.1462 plus or minus the t value, the margin error. You can calculate the standard deviation of the slope, and you'll get the 2 points. When you solve this equation of confidence interval, you will get this 2 points as 0.02885 on one side and 0.263 on the other side. This is the confidence interval where we can say that what is the confidence above 95%, what is the confidence lower 95% and upper 95%, and these are the values that we can determine the confidence interval that I have. This is I have determined here using the above equations which are in this slide. So what I meant to say that if this value is positive, you can see this 0.263. We are saying that 95% confident that this interval contains the true slope of the regression line. So this confidence interval will help us to say that the regression line that we are predicting will contain the slope that we are 95% confident. The true slope will fall into the true slope of the regression line will fall in between the 2 points. So if the beta 1 is 0, then the interval if contains a 0 value, then you can reject the null hypothesis. We can go for only when the value is non-zero. So let me again explain what is this test for null hypothesis. When my slope is 0, then my beta 1 will be 0. When my slope is not equal to 0, then how my relationship will affect. When my slope is 0, when the regression of the slope is 0, there is no significant relationship exists between the two variables. This test of hypothesis we can determine by B1 by S of B1 that we calculated already in the above slides. The values you can simply substitute, and you can determine that the test for hypothesis versus critical, we can say that it is significant. So because this null hypothesis B1, the slope is non-zero value, we can say that the test what we are carrying out is very significant in to carry out this prediction model. If your slope is 0, then you can say that the linear relationship between the two variables is 0. So what I'm trying to say is, if you are the server, we have been keeping the amount of the meals and tips amounts. Suppose the meal costs $64, which is not in the table. Based on the model, can we predict what will be the tip amount? We simply substitute the $64 into our linear regression model, and we'll be able to predict that approximately you will get a tip of $8.54. And that's how the linear regression, simple linear regression model will help us to predict based on the sample data. But also remember that this regression model we carried out simply based on the sample data that we assumed. Based on that, we constructed the all these equations, and we predicted that for $64, which will be 8.54, which is on the sample data that we assumed from the beginning. But if the data that we observed changes, then this model will also be changed. Okay, then what I mean to say that if this is the observed the tips and the meals by one server, but if any other server may have different bill and different meals, then the model will generate different prediction. So how we can determine that irrespective of the different sample data, what would be the average tip for $64, that we have to determine. to answer this question, we have to sample the distribution. So we can't average mean. So what we'll do is we'll generate a confidence interval between the mean tip of the $64. What do you mean by that? Let's try to explain with simple notations and we'll proceed further. Now, let's say that the value that of interest for dependent variable that we want to predict is for $64. That will represent as X star, and the possible values of Y may take Y star when X is equal to X star. Then the expected value for that mean value will be E of Y star. We call that as Y hat of star. Then the equation will change from Y hat star is equal to intercept B0 plus slope B1 into that X star of that of our interest. Here, the pointer estimator is the mean or expected value will be Y hat of star that we represented as E of Y of star. The predicted predictor of an individual value will be Y star when it is equal to X star. Same thing, we have rewritten the equation. So what happens when X star is equal to 64? When X star is equal to 64, then we predicted that our bill tip of, will get the tip of 8.537 around $8.5, but we have to carry out this confidence interval determining this Y star plus or T alpha by into standard error of equation. So when you substitute these values, you will get. I'll mute everyone again. Yeah. So when you construct the confidence interval, and you will be able to get how much the standard deviation of Y star in order to determine that. We will determine SY star in the above equation using the equation as shown in the slide. So this standard deviation of Y hat star will be determined by standard error of the estimate multiplied by a square root of the number of observations, 1 upon number of observations plus the equation. This is determined the value in the dependent variable that we are interested minus the mean of dependent variable square divided by sum of the observed value in the dependent variable. So based on this, we will try to determine the confidence interval of Y cap, so Y hat star. And when you substitute these values, you can determine the standard deviation of Y hat star, and you will get an approximately 1.1966. That is the standard deviation of Y hat. And we construct the the interval, the confidence interval of 95%, whether you're confident or not. You will get a sample distribution for the regression line, that the regression line will surely will fall in between this points. So one side on the probability, I mean the 95% we are confident that the regression line will pass through these 2 points between 5.215 and 11.86 when X is equal to 64. This is the confidence level that we are building up. That regression line will pass exactly through this thing. So when my bill is 64, you can say that we will construct the confidence interval for each and every bill and for each and every tip, and we can able to predict that line, my regression line will certainly pass through this point only, and from that we can able to construct a band. Okay, the lower confidence interval for the tip, then upper confidence interval for the tip, then the predicted tip. You can see that the predicted regression line is falling in between the lower and upper. You can plot all the lines, and you can see that this is always falls in between, and we are 95% confidence in order to make sure that the regression model that we are predicting is falls into this interval. So when I want me to the final points, what I'm trying to say is the estimated variance Y star is the minimum of the mean of the independent variable. Then you will get you will get as shown in the equation, then the estimated the standard error for y hat star will be then x star in case of the estimated variance is minimum as the independent variable, mean of the independent variable, then x star minus x bar will be 0. So in that case, your standard error of standard deviation for y cap would be simply the standard deviation into multiplied by square root of 1 by n, 1 upon n, that is the sample. So we can deduce the precise estimate mean value when x star for the value that we are interested, when that will become to the mean value, then our job will be very easy in order to determine the confidence interval. As x star goes farther from x bar, then the confidence interval will become more wider. So what I'm trying to conclude is the researchers that we often go through are very much often interested in the relationship between one variable and the other variable. So this relationship is a scientific experiment that will help us to ask whether any relationship is there or not. How if you want to understand the real life models, whether any dependent variable, any independent parameter is affecting my dependent variable, how much budget, how much model is influencing my marketing. In order to determine the relationship between two models, the simple regression analysis will help us. And this regression analysis is a simple statistical method for investigating such relationship. What is meant by statistical model? We will, in order to explain the simple words, it's a description of state or a process. Either it is a null hypothesis, either a hypothesis or a theory. Unlike scientific hypothesis, it is not verifiable by directly experiment. So we have to construct some predictive models, whether true or it is for all the models, it might be true or false. But the validation for all the models, if it is true, then we have to generate a good testable hypothesis in order to that is truly relevant to the important problems. So I would like to bring and acknowledge most of the lessons I learned from Mr. Brandon Foles through his video lectures, all the contents. Most of the contents I referred through his lectures, which I learned from his slides, and I would like to acknowledge him. So I'll stop here. If you have